Hi, I'm Saira. I'm deeply in love with all things beautiful that make life bloom. I believe that with every step we take, we can make life grow stronger. Some think that's a struggle, but I think that it can be done in all sorts of fun and enjoyable ways. That is why I started to film the Lifekeeper's Diaries. Here is where I share my views of beauty, my ways of giving back to life, and my sparkles of creativity. I think those are exactly the ways of how to fill life with joy and love for ourselves and others. That is the way of a Lifekeeper.
I'm in the Moon Bay, which is a small bay in the Strunjan protected natural area. And this bay is mostly known and cherished by the people that like to spend time in nature and want to get away from the crowds. I came here because I planned to come for quite a few days already. But I'm really happy that I came here today because while I was coming down from the cliff to the bay, I just thought that how wonderful it is for me that I've come on the day of full moon. So it was full moon this night and it was absolutely magical. The whole bay under my house was bathing in moonlight, and I think it was just an exceptionally strong full moon. I just felt it so deep. When I was just standing there on a terrace looking at the moon and just letting it soak into me, it was like feeling the whole lineage of women, like centuries or thousands of years of women's wisdom that was passed from woman to woman throughout our history. It was like connecting myself with the ancestors. And I know that really sounds quite hippie, but I really did feel that. It was like I was past a bit of their wisdom, and it was so magical. And now today it's really windy. It's quite calmer here in the bay, but up on the cliff it was crazy windy when I was walking here. But I really love wind. I think it's extremely cleansing, and it just cleans you from the outside and the inside. whenever I'm exposed to strong wind, I just feel so refreshed, and not only, having some fresh air, but it's like your soul and your mind and your whole being is refreshed by just exposing yourself to this element of life. And I really loved it today. And even the view is much nicer, of course, because it took away the mists that were lingering around here these last few days. So now we can actually see the tops of the snow-covered mountains in Italy. And I think it's just magical. Just the whole atmosphere of the day is magical. And when I came here, I remembered the night that I spent here with my friends like more than 10 years ago. So we spent quite a lot of time together during my last years of studies, and one night we came to the cliff above this bay, and we talked about life, about what to do next. And he was just finishing his studies. I finished my studies a year after him. So when we were talking, he was just about to make the bigger decisions, let's say, in life. When you finish your studies and you just need to realize what you're gonna do next, because, you're just entering a new phase of your life. And he just didn't know exactly what to do. It was like that void when you still don't know where to place your next step. That night, he came to me and he said, I have a news and you probably won't like it. And I was like, what is it? Tell me and I'll see. So he told me that he's thinking of joining the army, and he knew that I'm really not into army. I'm into peace and love, not army. But yeah, he said, I really don't know where I could get a job with my degree. And it just seems kind of practical, let's say. And, he stated out that his father supports that. His family is fine and supportive of that. And he really didn't have the best relationship with his family, but anyway, he stressed out that his family is supportive of the idea of him joining the army. And I was like, what's the point of stressing out that I wouldn't like the idea and that your father and your family is supportive? Have you thought of what would you like? And he was like, he just stood there. For a while he was just silent, and then he just breathed out, saying, wow, I've never thought of that. What would I like? I've actually never thought of that. And I was just shocked. I was shocked that somebody that was, I think we're like 23 years old or something like that at that time, that at that age, you wouldn't even once ask yourself of what would you like in your life? What is it that would you like? Not somebody else, not the family, not your parents, not even society expecting something from you. But what would you like? Well, to me, it was just one of the most fundamental and basic questions that everyone should be asking him or herself throughout life. Not at 23, but at, 10. To me, it was really so unimaginable to spend so much time, not even once, asking yourself, what would you like in your life? So I just stood there and I was like, well, maybe you should start with that. He did join the army in the end. I'm not really sure how much of a thought about that question he really gave himself after that. But anyway, just sitting here and just feeling this atmosphere of the day, on that night when we were sitting there on the cliff, it was quite a magical night as well. It was also full moon, and the moonlight was amazing, lighting up the whole bay. And it was one of those nights when you just feel that there's something in the air. Do you ever feel that? You know, because I feel it today as well. There are those days when you just feel that something is changing, something is shifting, something is maybe about to happen, or maybe you will never realize what exactly happened on that day, but you just know that something is going on the invisible levels of the life. And it's just, you know, full of options, full of opportunities, full of something that is going on. You can't really put your finger on it, but you know that it's big and that it is exciting. And today is one of those days, and I'm really, really happy and grateful that I get to experience it here with all these elements, you know, with beautiful sun and strong wind and the power of the moon. I mean, how magical it is to experience that, and in such a beautiful environment. How can you not be so deeply grateful for that? And yeah, I was just thinking about all this that is going on in our lives, the decisions that we take, the amount of freedom that we take for ourselves. I mean, after all, we are supposed to be beings of freedom, but we just rarely give ourselves the opportunity to live it and to take all the options that life is offering us. You know, the options, they can only be options when you allow yourself to be free, when you allow yourself to be free to make decisions and to embrace the options. When you allow yourself that, it doesn't mean that it's easier, but in the end, it is the most magical way of living your life. And it's also the most sensible way of living your life. Just knowing that you are on your own path, not on somebody else's path, is the awareness that is most precious, that is most special, most exciting. It's so well worth it. But it's not well worth it just for yourself. It's so important for all of us. So I suppose I would just say that please ask yourself that question. Ask yourself, what is it that I want from my life and for myself? What is it that fulfills me? Where do I feel most myself? How do I put life into life? Those are the most important questions that everyone should be asking themselves. And not just once at 23, but again and again. And the answers that you find, they do not need to stick for the rest of your life. Because after all, we are free, which means that we also have the freedom to change again and again. And you know, I really love the thought that was once shared by some, I think it was Australian Aborigine elder that shared it. And he said that the most terrible thing that can happen to a human in his or her life is to look at themselves and realize that in 10 years they didn't change. Because that means that the time was completely wasted. And I absolutely agree with that. You should change. You should change many times throughout your life. And I think that in the end, you know, some people will tell you that people are horrible and they will not support you in that. But I think in the long term, those are the only ways to gain respect and support from people, always. So yeah, do that. And definitely live your life courageously and according to yourself. Yeah, so I'm just gonna enjoy the most beautiful sunset. I'll also share it with you, and I'll stay grateful for today.